Hey Jim, I had a coffee, right?
Oh yeah, I think I moved it.
I
Sorry.
think you moved it, yeah.
I might make some. I don't know if you
Yeah.
want some more.
Mm-hmm.
Stuffing these.
There's a birthday card over there with your packages. Some of them are Andy. Yours is,
yeah.
but your birthday card, I think, is the big one.
Okay. Uncle Rand. Do you have any of those essay packets? No.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I put mine.
Over there somewhere amongst those boxes, or you could.
I don't want to ruin a box. But I want
No, they're not boxes. They're not organized. They're just packets now.
Over here?
Yeah. I thought I saw one.
I suppose I could always print.
Yeah, it's in one of your emails to me, hon.
It is, and I put it is under the redesigned printable now. So
Oh, okay.
if you ever need to print them, they are there now too.
Oh, thank you.
I should have just. Well, I think you wanted it like we were down to the wire, and I think you wanted it like yesterday, kind of thing. So I emailed it to you.
Phil didn't take his plants.
Oh, do you? Hey, you didn't leave yet.
Mm.
Oh, I found one. Sweet. For the record, there's a bunch in here.
Also, get your birthday card. I want Philip to see your card. It's the big one.
Well, I think that'll be due later.
I'll get those plants, don't you worry.
I know, I want you to see Jimmy's birthday card.
Yeah.
Can you just open the birthday card from Dad? It's big and it's yellow.
It's yellow.
See your name on it?
Mm-hmm.
It's a card.
Show Philip the card.
Now we're talking. Nice. Sister Chris has said no beer. She has said that.
You took a third person. I can take a third person.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, Captain. The one time I called Natalia Captain, she's like, "Don't call me Captain, that's your mom."
Don't call me Captain.
It's like, your mom's Captain, what are you doing? I'm like, you're right. Sorry, I don't know, I got confused. She'll be back soon enough.
Then you'll pay.
And I'll pay. Exactly. Then we'll know the cost of everything. Alright. Let's start with this plant.
Yeah, that held up pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. Woo! Shit, it wants to fall though. I love you, Mama. We get to see Andy soon. You wonder if you haven't seen somebody for a long time. It's been pandemic and beyond. When was the last time we saw Jimmy or Annie?
Probably when I flew there, maybe?
But before that, I would have been way before that.
Grandpa's funeral?
I missed that. Grandma's.
Was he here for that?
Yeah, he came in for that. That was it. It was Grandma's funeral. That's when I saw Andy. I'm gonna clean up that RAV4 a little bit.
What?
I'm gonna clean that RAV4 out a little bit. Scrub it. Give it a good scrubbing. Oh, I forgot to put these upstairs. He's halfway up. I cleaned Rubik's box.
If nobody shows, I guess I should just do it for Margot, I guess. I don't know.
Or we could just leave up the last one.
Oh, okay. We'll wait about 10 minutes.
Makes more sense. I did want to ask you if you think we should do October, do that test when it comes up. They release those, don't they? October?
Yeah. So if anybody's in the chat room, let us know.
Any second now, find my eye before it goes off.
Hi, Sophia. Glad you're here. So Margot isn't coming tonight. Phew, I almost had to sneeze. So it's just you. There might be another girl joining us, but I'm not sure. But we are so glad you're here. So this lesson, if you get out this lesson, lines, angles, systems, and graphs, it counts for about 100 points on the test. So why it's not really hard, it's a big chunk of the test. So we'll start right away. I'm going to let you get your packet and your blue book. And so if we go to page 1, so when lines intersect, obviously every straight line on the test is 180 and vertical angles are equal. That's pretty easy. Some often put this on the test. Now we're going to do the geometry, the big 2 packets to cover all the geometry, but when a transversal crosses 2 parallel lines, the alternate interior angles are equal. So actually there's 4 equal acute and 4 equal obtuse angles. And this is off. So when you see parallel lines, pretty much think this scenario. So let's go to a pretty easy one, and then I'm going to have you try it in the book. So in the figure above, lines L and M are parallel, and N and O are parallel. So A is 125. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And our goal is to get B. So if that's 125, we know his vertical buddy is 125. Then alternate interior angles, that's 125. And so that's 125. And this is 125. And so B has to be 55 degrees. Thank you, College Board, for 10 points. So I'd like you, Sophia, to try a book problem. So we're going to go to page 1237, and I'd like you to try number 3. It's pretty easy. And just put your answer in the chat room. So like before, we're just doing these in tandem with the book. And we're supposed to domino all the way out to here to get 2. But you can pretty much assume there's 4 equal acute and 4 equal obtuse. And since it's drawn this, very good, she's all ahead of me. Great job, sweetheart. It's 145. Awesome. So we're going to move on to a couple harder ones. So on the harder ones, you'll have to sometimes do multi-step. So we'll go back to the packet. Okay, in the figure above, lines L, M, N, and line segment AB intersect at point B. What is the value of x in degrees? So we know this is 50, this is 40, every straight line is 180, so B has to be 90. So its vertical buddy has to be 90, and so x has to be 30 degrees. Hopefully that one isn't too bad. So let's go to a one that's a little bit harder. Now on some problems, like I said, the math tonight isn't too hard, but it's all over the test. When they say figure not drawn to scale, you can't trust your eyes. So we have 2 isosceles triangles, this one and this one. They give us a little algebra in this one. So we have 100 minus A is 2B. And we know B is 60, so we just put in. So that'll just be 180 minus A is 120. Subtract 180. So negative A is a negative 60, so A is 60. Now, we're going to do this in the triangle lesson, but when we have an isosceles triangle, this is just a review, the opposite angles are equal. So if A is 60, these two guys have to split 120, and so X has to be 60 and 60, even though it doesn't quite look like a 60-degree angle. So that little bit trickier one was 60. Okay, now we're going to get into probably the really hard one of the same type, and then we're going to move on. So if lines L and M are parallel, so immediately I think alternate interior angles, which of the following must be equal to X? So I'm trying to get X, but they drew in another line here to confuse me. So the first thing I'm going to do is put in the vertical buddies. So this is A, this is B, and this is C. So you won't have to do any proofs on the SAT, but they might do something like this. So I'm going to darken the parallel lines and darken the transversal. Whoops, it's so hard to draw on this vertical surface. I hope you had an okay school day. It was really raining. So I'm sorry, because it's vertical, it's hard to draw. So anyway, X would equal A plus C, which is answer choice B. So if that's okay, if you see 4, if you could just tell me I see 4, because that's about the hardest they'll do. They might put in another intervening line to try to confuse you, but if you just darken the parallel lines and darken the transversal, you'll be fine. So if you just see 4, let me know. And Margot's going to be watching this later, so if you have a question, okay, great, she's good. Okay, let's go on to the next page now. one formula they don't give you on the test, which is probably, you know this by heart, is the slope formula. So this is one formula they don't give you on the test. But there's many problems between slopes and systems. There's probably about 100 points from this packet. So here we have 2 points, and we're just going to subtract these like we follow here, and so the slope is 2. The next thing, is the point slope formula and slope and parallel lines. So if the lines have an equal slope and a different y-intercept, they're parallel with no solution. Now on the next page, we're going to get into perpendicular lines, and so they put this on the test, and the perpendicular is the negative reciprocal. So if this one is a -3/2, then the other slope has to be 2/3. So I'd like to try a couple book ones just for more practice, because you want to get all these 100 points on slopes and systems. So first I'd like to do 350, number 29. So if you grab your blue book, we'll see what's there. Oh, yeah, this one is a hard one because it's at the end of the section, but I wanted to do it because when you have something like this is how they can be a little confusing. This is the y mx plus b situation. Obviously, this is our y-intercept. This is our rate. So let's look at this one. The formula, and this is, like I said, in the end zone. The formula above can be used to approximate the height h in inches of an adult male based on the length in inches of his femur. What is the meaning of the 1.88? So we don't want A because that's just a length. We want a rate problem answer. So is it the increase in the femur for each increase in height? No. Is it the approximate increase in a man's femur in inches for each one increase in his height? No, but look at D. It's the increase in a man's height for 1 inch increase in the femur. So the answer for this one is D. If you see that, just say C29, Sophia. Because that can be, they can present these slope problems as word problems. So that's why I wanted to conquer that one. So if you have a question on 29, let me know. Or if you see it, just put C29. Great, wonderful. So let's look at another one. I'd like to look at another book problem. And this is going to be page 1229. Let's go there. Because I'd like to see, we're going to conquer every kind of slope problem, even the ones that might be a little bit harder. This one's pretty easy. Look at number 4. Kathy is a repair technician for a phone company. Each week she receives a batch of phones that need repaired. The number of phones that she has left to fix at the end of the day can be estimated with this formula. So P is the number of phones left. This is where, so we're trying to figure out what is the 108. So if you would put the answer in the chat room, Sophia, to what you think the 108 would represent. So it's not the rate, that's the rate. What would this 108 represent? It's actually the y-intercept, which would be what answer? Basically, we're just going to try to face every kind of problem with slopes that we can. So if we had a graph, it would be 108 up here, right? And this would go down here. Yes, it's where she starts. Very good. High five through cyberspace. So I want to go to the next question. You'll see how many of these are on the test. So go to the next page, 1230. We're going to do number 6. And just put your answer in the chat room again. No pressure, even though it's just you. So this time we do want the rate. So how much is it going to go up every year for the boy? So every year, do you see he grows 3 inches? Does it make sense that the answer's A? If you see 6, just tell me you see 6. Good, great job. I just want to get you familiar with every kind of problem. Now, on the same test, I'd like you to turn to 1242. So we don't want you to miss any of these slope problems. So on 1242, you probably did this a while ago in math. We're going to do questions 15 and 16 together. Okay, so I'll let you get there. If I'm going too fast, just let me know. So sometimes the questions will be in pairs, and when they're in pairs, usually the second question is harder. So let's look at 15. So we're going to rent a boat. We have hours. But notice instead of the y-intercept, they call it c. So the 5 here. So what does this 5 represent? It just represents how much it costs us to get the boat out of the dock. So that would be 15a. If that doesn't make sense, just put a question mark. Okay, now this is the harder one, number 16. So we're trying to get the relationship, so we're trying to get the slope. So what I would do is I would pick 2 points. For example, I would pick 1/8 and what else? Maybe 5/20. Because you want to pick points that are right on the crossing. So then I'll produce my formula that I'm going to use a lot on the test. So that would be 20 minus 8 over 5 minus 1, which would be 12 over 4. So my slope is 3. So the answer for 16 is C. They want to trick me into picking B because they want me to just go, oh, I just go up 3 over 4. But they were a little nasty, and these hours are in fourths. We're going up here, we're going up by 2s. So if you see 15 and 16, just let me know. So we're just using the slope formula, starting out the merry-go-round pretty slowly. And we'll get to the harder problems in a little bit. So if you have a question on either one of these, let me know. Like if it's 15, just put 15 question mark or 16 question mark. But if you're good, just put I see 15. Okay, great. You're good, Sophia. Good job. Okay, now. Oh, that was a little trip. So let's go on to the next page, and that's where we were talking about the perpendicular lines. Okay. So let's try one on 459. We're going to try number 3. And this will be in the blue book. And we're going to look at number 3. It has nothing to do with perpendicular lines, by the way. Okay, so we have this statement. We have 2y minus 3x is a negative 4. So what we have to do is put it into y equals mx plus b format. So we'll just add a 3x to both sides and divide by 2. And so getting it in this form is the trick. So we can say it has a positive slope and a negative y-intercept. So that answer is D. So we're doing all kinds of ways that you could get a question. Okay, so we're going back to the packet. And Margot, if you're watching this later, I hope we're not going too fast. So let's look at a graph. We have to get the equation so we can see right away it goes through 0, 3. So 3 is our y-intercept. And actually with that, we know it's b. And I could just stop there. But if I'm going to do the slope, these increments are the same. So it would be down 3 over 2, negative 3 halves x. And I could also pick 2 points and just do the y. I have 0, 3, and 2, 0, sorry. So that would just be 0 minus 3 over 2 minus 0, and we would get the negative 3 halves. So that's a surefire point. So let's do a couple more. So this one, we're trying to get the slope of this line. So what do we have to do? We have to put it into y equals mx plus b mode. So let's first distribute the 5. So we'll add 20 to both sides. And then our last step is to divide by 5. And so now we're in the mode we need to, and the slope is always the m, which will be negative 8/5. So if you see 2, just let me know. I know that's how we have to communicate now because I can't see your head bobbing. I guess we're supposed to get some more rain over this evening, but maybe not too many winds, so great job. Okay, so this is sort of a common one question on the test. They'll give you a table, and your job is to find the equation. So right away, we can see the y-intercept is 2, so it can't be this. So I usually have this little trick, x, y, to find the x-intercept, y is 0, to find the y-intercept, x is 0. So here, we're just going to do the slope formula. So I'll just pick this one. See, they want to trick me into picking A, because A works. And so on the test, there's a lot of A traps, especially at the end. So if I put 0 in for x, I get out 2, and then I'm a happy camper, but the other numbers don't work. So I can try other numbers. I usually like to try these last ones. So if I put in a 4, I'm going to get out a 10. And so the answer for this one is C. I could also put in 2 points and get a slope. But that's a very common question. And sometimes the table will be this way. And again, this is sort of an easy review so far. Okay, this one is a little, I'll just call it tricky. A line in the xy coordinate plane goes through the origin. So that's 0, 0. And it has a slope of rise over run is 1 over 6. So that'll be up 1 over 6. So I pretty much know that 6, 1 is going to be a point on this line. This is taking it a little bit harder. So then let's try the points. Would 0, 6 be on this line? No. I think it really helps to draw the picture. Would 1, 6 be on this line? No. Would 6, 6 be on this line? No. But do you see 12.2 would be on this line because it would be rise over run, which is 1/6. So if you see 4, just tell me you see 4 and we'll try one in the book. Well, just so I know, you get this one. If you have a question on it, just let me know. Oh, great. Good. Okay, let's go to another tricky one. Like I said, we're conquering all these slopes tonight. So, I hope you don't have a lot of homework. But we'll be done by 8:30 anyway. So line L is represented in the XY coordinate plane above. We're going to translate it up 3 and over 5. What's the slope of the new line? Well, the slope is not going to change. So let's figure out this one. So we know we have 0, 3, and 3, 0. So that would be 0 minus 3 over 3 minus 0, which will give us negative 3 over 3, which will give us a minus 1. And pretty much we're going down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. So even though they move the line, the slope will still be negative 1. So we face everything here. So here's another kind of slope problem. So it's just the presentation that often causes a little consternation. So we have y equals kx plus 5. K is going to be our slope. The line contains the point AB. And so we're going to put A in for the x value and B in for the y value. We don't have numbers. And now all we have to do is get the slope of the line, which is k. This in terms of, you can always just cross off. So what we're trying to do is just get the k to stand alone. So what we'll do is we'll subtract 5, divide by A, sorry. And this looks a lot like answer choice A. So just let me know if you see 6 and we'll try a book one. It's a little trickier. Mostly kids read this AB and they say, what am I supposed to do with that? Because your math teacher didn't present you anything just like that. So what you're doing is you're putting A in for X, B in for Y, and you're solving for K. So if C6, if that's okay, let me know. If you have a question, you just let me know. Okay, you got it. So let's try a book one just like this. Because like I said, it's just the presentation usually. You've had all the math. So if we could try a book one, I'd like to go to page 1116, number 8. And so again, I just like to do questions in the book because then you feel very familiar with them. So we're doing y equals kx plus 4, but this time we're putting CD in. So if you get the answer, Sophia, just let me know in the chat room. You're solving for k, which is the slope. Okay, that's okay, sweetheart. So it's the way they presented the problem. So let's look at it. Y equals kx plus 4. And k is a constant. That's our slope in an ordinary y equals mx plus b. So we want the line to have CD. So this is the part that's confusing. So C is our X and D is our Y. So we're going to put in D for Y, and then the K stays. C is our X value. And then all I'm doing is a little bit of algebra to get the K to stand alone. So I'm going to subtract 4. If I had numbers, you'd probably have no problem. So I'm going to subtract the 4, and then final step is divide by C, and that would equal K. Does that help? So the answer for this one is A. If you still, just let me know what's confusing, because it's just you and me. It's almost like an individual tutoring session, except I'm in Bethel and you're in St. Clair. Does it make sense now or not really? I know this part is the confusing part. What are you supposed to do with CD? Well, the C is your X, so you're putting that in for X, and the D is your Y value. Okay, so it's good now? Okay, that's awesome. Sometimes in math you don't see it right away, and I get that. Okay, so we're going on to the next page in the packet. So, what would you think this answer would be? I have one line that has a slope of 3 over 1, and the other line has a slope of minus 1/3. What must be true about these lines? And you could just put the answer in the chat room. If one is the negative reciprocal of the other, what's true about these lines? Because this is 3 over 1, and I'm flip it and make it negative, so the lines have to be which answer? Yes, they have to be perpendicular. That's awesome. So let's try this one first. Which of the so this can be on the test, the negative reciprocal stuff, which you probably had a while ago. So we have a point, and this is our y-intercept, so we know the +4s are out. And it's perpendicular to this line. So that means this slope is -4/1. We need the negative reciprocal, which will be 1/4. So what line has a slope of 1/4 and it goes through -4? And this will be C. So if that's okay, you can let me know. Just say C8. So if you see 8, just let me know. Oh. Okay, great, sweetheart. So let's look at the next one. So number 9 is in the xy coordinate plane, line M goes through these points. What's the slope of the line? So if you have trouble with this abstract algebra, we can just pick a number. So I'm just going to say A is 2. So we're trying to find the slope between 2, 0 and 0, 4, because 2A would be 4. So we're going to use our good old slope formula. They don't give it to you. Rise over run. So we'll have 4 minus 0 over 0 minus 2, which will be, let's see here, 2, 0, and 0, 4. 0 over 0 minus 2. And so that answer would be -2, which is A. And you could pick any numbers, like you could pick 6, 0, and 0, 12, and do 12 minus 0. No matter what you pick, you would get a -2. Okay, so let's go on. Hopefully that's all good. Now we're going to quite a hard one, but I think you're okay so far. So the hardest thing they can do on the slopes is give you 3 points and say they're all, let me see if I draw this right. Like say they give you 3 points and they say they're collinear. That means they're the same line. So you have to get the slope of these and then compare it to the slope. If they're on the same line, they have to have the same point. So this is the hardest it gets. So in the xy coordinate plane, we have 3k and K12, and both of these points are going through the origin. So we know this slope has to equal this slope. Now this is the hardest one, so if you have trouble with it, I understand. So we want to get the number that this K is. So first we'll do 3K in 0, 0. So let's just do K minus 0 over 3 minus 0 equals, and it has to equal the slope of this one, which will be 12 minus 0 over K minus 0. So then I would just have K over 3 equals 12 over K. And my last step is to just cross multiply. So K squared is 36, and the square root of 36 would be 6. Thank you, College Board, for 10 points. So I'll probably do that again. Shall I go over it again? Because this is the hardest thing they can do to you. Maybe the last question on the test. So take a minute and see if you've gotten it. You just know that if they're collinear, this slope has to equal this slope. And so here they don't say collinear, but it's the line that goes through K12 and 3K and 0, 0. And these slopes have to be equal. So C10, or put a question mark and I'll go over it again. Or tell me what part is confusing. Because this is a real hard one, like I'm taking you to the brink here a little bit. Oh, good. Oh, great. Okay, now we're going on to word problems. So if you get a big word problem on the test, it's usually a slope or a system. We're going to cover the systems in a couple minutes, but so if we had a small raindrop, it's raining, so this is apropos, and it goes down at 12.5, and another larger raindrop is 5, 20.6. Sort of looks like I'm doing a slope. So we did this here for you. We put in and we got our slope. Then we're going back and we're putting it in for B. So we now have a formula for any raindrop problem, and so we can get our answer. So let me check a second because I want to see. Whoa. Hold on, I'm just trying to get. Okay. Whoa, book is heavy. Okay, so we did the raindrop. Let's look at marbles. So we're going to question 1. So as glass marbles of equal size are added one at a time to a cylindrical glass containing water, the marble that goes up, right? And so our mission, we have it where we have 2 marbles and 6 we're supposed to get the height of the water in the glass at 0 before any marbles were added. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is get the slope of these two. Not so bad, right? So that will equal 24 over 4. So I have my slope that's 6 between this and this. Now I'm trying to get, what would it be here? 0 what? And I don't know. So I'm going to go back to the slope formula. And so I know I'll just pick this 274. So I'm going to try 274. Whoops. And then 0, I don't know. So I'll go to my slope formula. I'll call this just x. So we have x minus 74 equals 0 minus 2. And the slope is going to be 6. So that's pretty much our answer. So we can multiply both sides. Let's see, we have 0 minus 2, which is a negative 2. So I multiply 6 times a negative 2, so x minus 74 is a negative 12. I just add 74 to where I start, and I will get, let's see, 74 minus 12 is going to be 62. So this would be 62. And that makes sense because we're going down 4. For every down 4 we go down, let's see, 24. So we go down another 4 here, and I would get 62 about. It would work. So if you see one, just let me know, and if you're still confused, put a question mark up. It's one of those triple slopes again, only it's a little bit harder because it's in a word problem. So just put a question mark if you don't see it. So just first I got my first slope between these 2 points, and that was 6. And then I had to find where it would cross on the y-axis. So just put a question mark if it doesn't make sense yet.
What equation did you get from the line?
I got a slope of 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't find the b. I just put it back in the slope formula. Okay, sweetheart. So now we're moving on to systems. So you'll probably get a group of slope problems and then systems. So If there's one solution, they cross at one point. If it's infinitely many solutions, it's the same line. And if there's no solution, it's parallel lines. So, to solve systems, you could put it on your graphing calculator, but we don't recommend that because you have to change the window and it's time consuming. Substitution is about 20% of the time, but most of the time they like to use linear elimination. So if we have substitution here, if y is this and this, I could solve for y, put it in the original equation and solve it. But the linear combination is the best way to do most 80% of these. So if we have y plus 2x is 5 and y plus x is 4, we just put one over another of these, and then the y's cancel, and 2x plus a negative 1x will just give us 1x, and 5 minus 4 is 1. Then I can go back into the original equation and get the y. So let's try a couple of these before we get to some hard ones. So if we have x plus y is 8. You probably remember doing this. I think you had to do it for the keystones. And we have x minus y is 2. We're adding these, so these y's are additive inverses. So we'll get 2x is 10. Not so bad. X is 5. And they did ask me for x. So let's try another one. And I like to, if they mess up the variables, I still like to put them, linear align them. So we have p plus q is 0. Q minus p equals 10. So here the p's drop out. I have 2q is 10. So q is 5. But they asked me for p, so always watch the prompt. So if I put 5 in for q, I will get p plus 5 is 0, and so p equals a minus 5. Okay, let's try 3. So if we have 3a plus b is 9, and a plus b is 1. So I can't eliminate a variable unless I multiply everything in this second equation by a negative. So when I do that, I will get 2a, because I'm adding a 3 and a negative 1, equals 8. So a is 4, but they're asking me for b, so watch your prompt. So 4 plus b is 1. Just subtract the 4 from both sides. B equals a negative 3, which is answer choice A. Okay, so if you're okay so far, just put okay in the chat room. Like I said, this math isn't very hard, but it's like 100 points on the test, so we want to conquer it. Okay, good. Now, how they can express it sometimes, if an equation has infinitely many solutions, it's the same line, right? It just has different variables. So if we solved each of these equations, we would see it's the same line, so there's infinitely many solutions. So no solutions means they are parallel, same slope, different y-intercept. So they're like railroad tracks, they're never going to cross. So let's look at something that's a little tricky. For what value of k does the linear systems of equations have an infinite number of solutions? So you can see we're multiplying this by 3, this by 3. 2/3 times 3 would give us 2. So that answer would be C. So let's try one in the book. So if we go to page 339, I'd like to do number 19. And so follow me with this, Sophie, if you can. So this is one of the hardest ones. It's next to the hardest one. So we have 2x plus 3y is 1200. And then we have 3x plus 2y is 1300. Now, if you look at the prompt says for 5x plus 5y. And if you never saw this before, you could say, how can I get x and y from this, right? You don't have to do that much because we're just adding these. So we get 5x plus 5y. In 2 seconds, we tell the College Board 2,500 is the answer. So if you see that hard one, just say C19, because you might not think that you just can add them, but with the prompt, that's the fastest way to do it, and you just gotta, so familiarity with the questions can really help. So if you see 19, just say, tell me you see that. So all you have to do is just add these together for that really hard one. Okay, great. So now you know how to do one of those. So we're going back to the packet. We solved this one. Let's go to number 2. I like to go to the book so you can see how to conquer some of the hard ones. So here, in the system of equations, what value does z have to result in infinitely many solutions? So that's the same line. So we're multiplying this by 3. 20 times 3 would give us 60, and 144 times 3 would give us 432, but that equals 8z. So our last step is just to divide by 8, and we would get 54. Thank you, College Board, for 10 points. Because we need the same line. It's just that this one is traveling with sunglasses because we multiplied everything by 3. So if you see 2, just let me know. I see 2. This is probably math you had a while ago, but we just want to bring it to the forefront of your brain for test day. Oh. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sophia. Okay. All right. If you happen to leave the meeting, we'll still continue to do it, and then you can see it later online, okay? We can't control the storm.
Yeah, we've been knocked out before ourselves.
Yeah, we've
We
been
know what
knocked
it's
out
like.
before. We know what it's like. So, you can just, if you want to leave now, let me know, or we can still try it. But I will just keep going. But if you have to leave, we'll know what happened. Okay. So I'm going to continue on to 3 for Margot. So we have no solutions. So basically we need parallel lines. So if we have, this is our equation. We want to get it into y equals mx plus b form. So we'll subtract the 8x. And then our last step is to divide by 5. And so we'll get negative 8/5, which occurs in answer choice B. Okay, moving on to this one. So we want it parallel with this one, so it has to have the same slope. So we have to try the choices. So if we try this first choice, we'll subtract a 4x. And so that would actually equal y equals minus 2x plus 5.5. So that works. Okay, so here's another one if Sophia and Margot are watching this later. If the system of linear equations has no solution, what's the value of A? Well, if we fly like an eagle above the problem, we can see this is twice this answer. So 10 would have to be twice 5. Okay, a couple more. So if we have ax plus by is 8 and 3x plus 4y is 56, many solutions, that translates to the same line. So we want to get a over b, which would just be 3 over 4. Okay, let's try this next one. We have 2x plus 2y is 20. 2x plus y is 16. So we're going to subtract everything. We will then get y is 4. So we put that back in. So we would have 2x plus 4 is 16. Subtract the 4. 2x is 12, so x is 6. So then we would have 2 times 6 minus 4. So 12 minus 4 would just give us 8. Okay, let's try another one. If b is, this is a substitution one, so we're going to put in 5/2 A for B. So we'll have 2A plus 5/2 A equals 9. That's going to be 2A plus 2.5A. I just changed 5/2 into 2.5. So that'll give us 4.5A is 9. Divide both sides by 4.5. And A is 2. Okay, now we're getting into word problems. So our first goal is to get the equation. So let's look at this first sentence. So Tom and Keith have $90 in stock. Twice Tom is 30 more than Keith. So what we can do is subtract the K, and now we have two equations. So we just will add them, and we will have 3 Tom is 120, so Tom is 40, and that means Keith has to be 50. So let's try a book problem. If you girls are watching this later when there's no storm. So let's go to page 1112. We're going to try number 19.
I don't think that page number's right.
1121 maybe?
Maybe. Yep.
Okay, so let's go to 1121. And this is in the hard zone because we're at the end of a section. So at a lunch stand, the hamburger has 50 more than the fry. And the fries are in calories. Then we have another equation. 2 hamburgers plus 3 fries have a total of 1,700 calories. So once again, I'm just going to take this equation and write it in a different form. So this will be H, I'm just going to subtract the F, and that'll be 50. Now, all I have to do now is multiply everything by 3, because I'm trying to get the hamburger, right? So that would be multiplying everything through by 3. We will have 5 hamburgers, have 1,850 calories. Just divide by 5. I know it's no calculator, but we can handle this. And so that would be, each hamburger has 370 calories. And so it's very likely you would get one of those on the test. A word problem involving a system. Okay, so we're almost done. Let's go on to the next page. In the packet, we're not going to do this one because I haven't seen any this hard. Whoops. Okay, get the screen. Okay, we're not going to do this one. So scatter plots and lines that best fit. You'll probably get a question like this. So, you know the line of best fit has to match the slope, and it has to have the same number of points above and below it. So this is linear, negative linear. This would be exponential, negative exponential. Okay, so let's look at this pretty easy example. The screen height and width of 6 different cellular phones or tablets are shown in the scatter plot above. measured in pixels. What's the height in pixels of the device represented by the data point that is furthest from the line of best fit? So it's out here. So we're trying to get the height. We're not trying to get the width, so we want to get this height approximately. And we can see it'll approximately be 1280. So let's look at this word problem. The scatter plot above shows fish caught hourly by fishermen. The coordinates of a point represents the hours spent fishing X and the number of fish caught Y. So if the line of best fit has a slope of 1, so we know what we have here is a slope of 1. What is the line? So what I would try to do is get a point on the line. So we want to get something that just goes right through the line of best fit. So you sketch it in, and I actually found one in the crosshairs at 26.8. So I'm going to put 8 in for Y, 26 in for X. So that will give me 8 is 26 plus B. Subtract the 26. And I will get a negative 18. So the equation for this one is B. Okay, so this is the number of farms that have gone down in the United States. Hard to believe. We want to get the yearly decrease. Or no, this is the milk. So this back in 1950, this many people, the average person drank, I don't know, I'll probably say, well, I'm going to try to find 2 points that are on the crosshairs per person, that means. So this will be 2,000. It looks like today only about every person drinks about 5 gallons of milk a year. But if I look back, it looks like, I'm trying to pick another number, in 1970, and they know you can't get this exactly. In 1970, it looks pretty much like 22. So then I'm just going to use my slope formula. 22 minus 5 over 30 years. So that will give me 17 over 30, which is approximately 0.55. Okay, so a couple more things and we're done. Looking at quadrants, you know the quadrant numbers, and you could get a question on this. So the XY coordinate plane above, line L not shown, contains the point 0, 4. Each of the other points on line L lies in quadrant 1 or 2. What's the slope of line L? So every horizontal line has a slope of 0. Okay, question like this is pretty common. You did these in middle school, probably with colored pencils. A system of inequalities, y is greater than x. So here's our line, and we know y is greater than, so I'm just going to color it in black, lightly, because you don't have colored pencils on the SAT. Then we have another line, y is less than, so I'll put this in red. And so the both sections will be, both requirements are met in section B. Okay, so the last page, let's try these, and then I'll be giving you off to Jim. So, in the system of inequality, so I'm going to draw this line So I'm going to draw minus 1 and then up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And y is less than this, so I'll cross under this. And then y and, so it has to meet both conditions. So I'll go down in black to a minus 5 with a slope of 1. So I draw that line, color it in, and so there will no solution will ever occur in quadrant 2. And our last question. So if this is my graph, y is less than a negative x. So that means I'm going to color this in. And then the other requirement is that y is greater than 2x plus 4. So I'm going to color this in a different, well, let me see if I can get black. And so they both meet in section X. Okay, so that's our lines and angles and system. We completed 24 pages. And so you want to take a little break, and I'll put Jim on with the Common App essay.
Yeah, you're gonna write down, take a break and back at 7:05?
Yeah, 7:05.
Sure.
Okay, do you have that paper that's underneath?
It's over here. This?
Yeah. Okay. So Phil left, I think.
I don't know. Okay, we are back. It is 7:05. So I'm going to bring up the lesson for today. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Common App essay today for the English. And Sophia, if you're here, that's great. You may be watching later. I know that the storm is still kind of going a little bit over here. And Margot might be watching this later. But we're going to talk about the Common App essay. You may end up writing one of these. So there used to be an SAT essay. Only this year they announced that they've eliminated it forever. So it's gone. So you can't write an SAT essay anymore, but you may want to write a Common App essay or some other form of application essay. So that's what we're going to go over today, just because they are so common in the college application process. So the Common App is just a way to apply to over 900 schools. It's just a common application that these universities and colleges use. So we'll talk about the different essays you could select if you want to submit a common application. But let's just generally talk about the essay first. So why an essay? Well, the admissions counselors rely on your transcript as their primary authority. So transcripts paint a quantitative picture of you, the applicant, but often the school will desire some qualitative information. So who are you really as an individual? What are your personal beliefs or values? Do they align with this institution? And it's kind of difficult to answer these types of questions just with scores. That's why some schools like to have an essay. It just presents a clear picture of you, the candidate, and they're basically looking for a way to confirm what they already know about you, right? They're just trying to confirm that you are the right candidate. So the admission process has remained fairly unchanged over 80 years, which is an interesting thing to think about. So how do they evaluate and determine and select applicants? Well, they will use your transcript, they will use your GPA, they will use SAT score, they will use things of this nature to determine who they want, but they also will use the essay. And the essay is just your chance to say, pick me, select me, and as strongly as possible. So you should, at this point in the stage of your career, you should have values or character traits that define you, and the essay is a good place to express yourself clearly and paint a positive picture of your own character. So perhaps helping your local community is important to you. You might want to mention that. Can you establish a claim about yourself? Support it with evidence, and just as you normally support claims with evidence in essays, in this case, the evidence is going to come from your own life, so it's a little bit strange. but can you use evidence from your own life to establish a claim about yourself in order to paint a clear picture about yourself? And you must operate within the conventions of standard written English because English has rules. But that's basically what they're going to try to determine with the essay. So the nice thing is you have every resource you need to perform this task. So even though it's perhaps a little bit unfamiliar, you are familiar with yourself. So you've written many essays in school, perhaps you have written few about yourself, but you are used to supporting your claims with evidence in school and in an essay. So now it's going to be a similar task, but now the evidence is coming from your own personal life. And it can be a little strange to open up about yourself to these strangers. But even if the task is unfamiliar, I like to say that the subject is not, and that's just you. So you should know thyself, you'll be familiar with yourself, and you'll be able to paint a clear picture of yourself for these universities, for these colleges. So the colleges you apply to use a variety of information to make their selection. So they will consider all of these things. They will consider your courses of study, the courses you've studied in high school, your transcript, your class rank, GPA, SAT, ACT score. They will consider all of these things, letters of recommendation. And colleges can afford to be selective. The more prestigious a school is, so Ivy League, etc., the more choosy they can be. Not all colleges require an essay. So that's an important one to know, an important thing to note. Not all colleges require the essay, but you can write one within the Common App, and applicants can see the requirements for all of the schools within the Common App. So the essay allows the schools to differentiate among top, medium, and borderline candidates. I think if they're already reading your essay, that's a great sign. That means they're already considering you. They wouldn't read your essay if they knew you were a poor candidate for the school. So the fact that they're even considering reading your essay is a great sign. It means you may get in to the institution because they don't have time to read every single essay. So they'll probably use scores to winnow, to cut the chaff. They'll use GPA, things of that nature to determine who they want, and then they'll start reading some essays. Usually, maybe it's down between a few different candidates, and your essay can set yourself apart. It allows you to express your own individuality. So colleges use essays because the quality of your writing is important. Perhaps they just want to know, okay, this person can write. If we want to select, we want freshmen who can write. You know, that's sort of the idea here, and that's why these colleges use the Common Application essay. So the Common App essay is your personal statement. It is also the college's opportunity to better get to know you as a person. So these essays allow the colleges to judge the depth of your understanding of social issues. At this point in your life, you should have developed a perspective on important world or social issues. Things should matter to you at this point in your life. You should be able to self-evaluate. And creativity is just a hallmark of higher learning institutions in general. They value creativity. So if you can set yourself apart with your creativity, with your creative essay about yourself, that's going to give you a better chance to be selected. So you can think of the Common Essay as similar to a cover letter for a resume. The style of your essay will be formal, but perhaps less formal than you are used to. The I pronoun will dominate your essay as you explain. Well, we're going to see the prompts in a minute, but it may feel strange at first to open up and candidly reveal aspects of your own life to complete strangers. But just remember that you control the narrative. You control the story about yourself, and that gives you power. And the number one thing that they're looking for is authenticity. Does this sound like the applicant? Does this sound like a real individual? Does this sound like sincere? Does this sound authentic? So I would say that this is the most important. Oh, I think I accidentally closed the lesson. Sorry. We'll open that back up. Authenticity is the most important thing. If it doesn't sound like you, if it sounds like someone else wrote it, they're going to know that someone else wrote it. So watch out for plagiarism. If it sounds like Daddy wrote it, they're just going to write on your essay, Daddy wrote it, and you're not going to get in. So watch out for plagiarism. Make sure that you don't have someone write your essay for you. You can have someone review your essay just to make sure that there aren't any punctuation errors, spelling errors. Don't have someone write your essay for you. That will come across as insincere. It won't sound like you. And if it doesn't sound like you, they're going to know it's not you, right? They're not going to accept you. So you control the narrative. Authenticity is the most important thing. Individuality is important. So if your essay lacks individuality and just appears to be a generic response with no conviction, no kind of identity behind it, this will diminish your opportunities. They want to know about you. The length of your final draft should be no more than 650 words. So it's not even really that long, but your rough drafts should be longer. To start with, I would start with around 1,000 words and then cut it down. That way you'll be left with your strongest essay once you've removed anything that is less persuasive. Okay, so you want your writing to be interesting. Yeah, all your writing just needs to scream, pick me. This is your message. This is what you're trying to express. Pick me. You want your writing to be interesting, even entertaining. But avoid becoming too familiar with those who are those who are reading your essay. They're not your friends. They're not your chums. They have the power to deny your application. They may not get your particular brand of humor, and they may just throw out your application because this person's not funny. This person thinks he's funny. This person does not belong in this school, right? So just don't be overly chummy with your audience. Be formal. Be friendly with your audience, but be formal. Consider this similar to a cover letter for your resume. They have the power to deny your application for any number of reasons. Avoid using slang within your essay. Be sure to proofread your submission for errors. Spelling counts, grammar counts, everything counts. I would even have a friend or maybe have a colleague look over your essay. Don't have someone write your essay, but have someone check the spelling, have someone check the grammar. It's going to be your statement, your personal statement. Don't have anyone else write it. You must write your own statement, but make sure that you check all of these things before you submit it, because it all counts. So about the Common Application. The Common Application was created in 1975 at Vassar. It is designed to make the college application process simpler for you, the applicant, and it's much simpler for the colleges. So over 900 colleges accept the Common Application, so that's great. So you can apply to so many schools using the Common Application now. I really wish that this had been more prevalent when I was applying to school. So even though the Common Application, I guess, existed, back when I was applying to school, now it's ubiquitous. It allows you to apply to multiple schools with one application. Not all schools require an essay, but you can submit one even if it's optional. And it says a little note here: the Common App is always included in essay. So a little fact there. So choosing the essay prompt. So it's important to consider the variety of options they give you. They give you many prompts, and I think that the sheer variety of these prompts is going to lead to some confusion. It's going to make it harder for you to select the correct prompt for you, the individual, because not all of these prompts are created equally. So we will talk about all of the essay prompts, and you can select any of them. But I think that it's deceptive in that certain prompts are going to be much more difficult to write unless you're a highly skilled writer, just based on the prompt, the scenario within the prompt. So what I'd like to say that they vary in difficulty as well as topic. So you must avoid becoming overwhelmed by the sheer variety of prompts because there are so many of them. You must select the one that's suitable for you. It doesn't matter which prompt you choose, as long as it's one that allows you to provide insight into your own identity, your own character, in some kind of way that the rest of your application can't, in a way that your scores can't. Your ability as a writer should definitely play a a role in which prompt you select because we consider certain prompts to be advanced, whereas other prompts will be more suitable for everyone. So certain prompts we would consider advanced or for specific situations. Other prompts will be accessible to everybody. So we're going to go over all of them, but here are the prompts. I'm going to read the prompts before we can, and then we're just going to tackle each one. We're going to go through all of them. There are 7. So there are 7 common essay prompts. I'm going to read the first one. I'm just going to read them all. Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful, they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. The lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from the experience? Reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or idea. What prompted your thinking? What was the outcome? Reflect on something that someone has done for you that has made you happy or thankful in a surprising way. How has this gratitude affected or motivated you? Discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. Describe a topic, idea, or concept you find so engaging that it makes you lose all track of time. Why does it captivate you? What or whom do you turn to when you want to learn more? That should say whom. Share an essay on any topic of your choice. It can be one you've already written, one that responds to a different prompt, or one of your own designs. So be aware that number 7 is the open-ended prompt. You can select any question you want for number 7, which I said that the variety of these prompts is overwhelming. Just think about that. Even 1 through 6, I think, are overwhelming already. And now you're just going to let me pick any question I like for this last prompt. That's what I mean about this becoming, choosing the prompt can become overwhelming because it is so open. I have so many options already. And now you're telling me I can just write whatever I want, or I could just use some essay I've already turned in school. That might be tempting, but that's probably not what you want to do. When they're giving you this open-ended prompt, it's for a specific reason. We're going to discuss it when we get to this prompt. But just don't become overwhelmed by the sheer variety of prompts. I'd say that's the first thing that could happen. Just reading all these prompts, you might become overwhelmed. But let's talk about the talent or interest prompts. Since this is the first one, it's tempting. But should you select this, we'll talk about why or why not. So here it is again. Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. So this prompt may be tempting because we all have interests. We all have hobbies. We all have things that personally identify ourselves that we enjoy doing. Some of us are highly talented. Some of us are less talented. And that's what I think can be dangerous about this prompt, is that if you choose something that is maybe more everyday, I'm just trying to think. This would be a good prompt to select if your background, identity, or interest would be your topic of study. You know that you're going to major in geology, and you've been collecting rocks your entire life. You could probably talk my head off about these minerals, these rocks. So if it's something that leads you to your major, I would consider this prompt perhaps. Or if it's perhaps a sport or something, a sport that you would be playing at school. Maybe they want you for volleyball, they want you for tennis. Maybe you could talk about the sport or interest that you've been playing your entire life. And I would only talk about the sport or interest if it's something that you've been taking, maybe you've been taking private lessons for, you know you're going to study music, you know you wanted to study music education, maybe since you've been learning the piano your entire life, and you have the background to talk to me about music, and it will sound sincere. Sincerity is the most important thing. But if your topic of interest or your talent sounds lackluster to me, if it sounds banal, or if it sounds something that really anyone could kind of achieve, or if it sounds uninteresting, I'll be less likely to select you because you may bore me accidentally. You may bore me with your talent or interest. I may find it uninteresting. That would be a risk of choosing this prompt. So I'm just going to read a little bit from this. So if you're planning on studying something that you have been studying, if you plan on studying something that you've been studying privately, such as music, or maybe you've been studying dance, you've been involved in dance competitions your entire life, I think that you would have the background to talk about this subject of dance in a way that is engaging. Your years of formal study will be readily apparent in your ability to discuss your passion, if you're passionate about this topic. So if you want to play Division 1 or 2 athletics, be aware that there are some additional requirements. So you have to take the SAT or ACT, and they just compare that with your GPA. So be aware that they have some additional requirements if you're going to play sports, if you're going to play athletics in college. They do require SAT and ACT score, and basically they compare it with your GPA, and it's just a sliding scale. Lower GPAs must have higher SAT scores associated with them, and higher SAT scores will permit you to have a lower GPA and still play ball there or whatever. So just be aware that they have a scale here, and there are certain requirements if you want to play these types of athletics. A hindrance of this prompt is that you may deviate and interpret the background, identity, interest, or talent to be the subject of the essay, when it's not. You are supposed to be the subject of the essay, right? So maybe you talk too much about the sport of football and it's not really apparent that it's about you anymore. Maybe you talk too theoretically about this subject. Perhaps you speak too theoretically about the subject of music, and I don't really learn anything about you, the applicant, you, the individual. That would be bad. So don't interpret the background or interest to be the topic. You are supposed to be the topic. I think that is very important. The whole reason they're reading this essay is to learn more information about you, not more about the sport of basketball. They know about basketball. Why is it important to you? Can you make it relatable? Can you make it interesting in a way that is unique? So this prompt, we would consider it advanced. It may be best left to applicants who have had an uncommon path in life, perhaps an athlete or someone who has studied dance or studied music formally for a number of years. This doesn't sound like this should be for everyone. This sounds like a select group of people, because not everyone has had this unique experience that maybe you've had through your dance or through your study. So you have some kind of exclusive perspective that would be interesting for me, the admissions counselor, as I'm reading your essay. That's the idea here. You have some kind of perspective that is not ordinary, that's not average. You want your writing to stand out. You don't want it to be mundane. You don't want it to be uninteresting. Your skill as a writer plays a huge part into this prompt, because you are breathing life into this background, identity, interest, or talent in a way that is believable, relatable, and engaging. All right, so that was the first prompt. You may select that one, but it's a little risky perhaps. You have to come across as sincere, but it also has to be interesting. Your talent needs to be interesting. All right, number 2 is the comeback special prompt. It says, the lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from the experience? So for most circumstances, we recommend this prompt above all others. This is a great prompt for many to write. Why is this such a good prompt? Because obstacles are universal. Setbacks are universal. Everyone encounters stumbling blocks. It just happens in life. So it allows you to play the protagonist in a true story about yourself and show just precisely how have you surmounted this obstacle? How were you able to achieve your goal? So if I'm the admission counselor and I'm trying to judge your writing as a predictor of college success, and it seems like you're making these serious, these insurmountable challenges into molehills, right, into things that are not so serious, I will be hugely impressed. Challenges, setbacks, failures are universal. Everyone has encountered them in life. So you will have experienced them by this point in your life, right? If you're an interesting person, you've encountered these. So maybe you encountered a setback in your school, maybe in athletics, in your part-time job, or some other scenario. Small hurdles can become more challenging as they compound in number, but even hopeless barriers can be overcome with the right friendly guidance or personal breakthrough. And this will be your personal story. So you're going to make it personal, you're going to make it relatable. The nuance of your personal life adds credibility to your story, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for sincerity. I want a sincere picture of the candidate. If it sounds believable, then I buy it. If I buy you overcoming this obstacle, I will be more likely to select you as an applicant. So your personality should bleed through, as this is intended to be your personal statement. It is your personal statement. It's allowed to be a little bit more personal than the rest of your application is for this reason. So in the day-to-day of our own singular experience, it can be hard to remember that challenges affect us all. Challenges are universal. The COVID-19 pandemic, for example, affected everyone. Everyone encounters challenges. Everyone encounters setbacks. But how do you personally respond to a setback? How do you personally respond to a challenge or a failure? If you can show me your process, if you can show me how you succeed, how you're able to achieve, how you're able to surmount these obstacles, I will be more likely to pick you. So your experience in life gives you strength. Your negative experiences, that's an interesting thing to think of. It's not the positive things in life that give you strength. It's often the negative things that you encounter in life that build your character, make you stronger, make you a stronger person. If life is nothing but roses for you, then you probably have been somehow coddled or otherwise insulated from the harsher realities of life, because life is hard. So such an applicant may prove less desirable than one who has had to work hard for what he or she has. So that I would recommend that prompt above all the other ones. Even if you end up ultimately choosing to submit a different essay prompt, I would write a number 2 prompt anyway. Try the number 2 prompt. Even if you end up writing the next one, ultimately, write a number 2, just because I feel that this is the easiest prompt for you to write. They're teeing you up to just, knock this out of the park. How have you surmounted a difficulty in life? Okay, so that was the second one. Sort of like a Rocky prompt. What makes the film, I know this is a crazy old movie, but what makes the film Rocky interesting? He never gives in. He never gives up. Would Rocky be a very interesting movie if he just knocked the other guy out in 5 minutes, just roll the credits? Is that the film Rocky? No, he has to hit the gym. He has to work hard. He has to, maybe you have to hit the books, right? Maybe you overcome some kind of scholastic obstacle and you can write about that. How were you able to surmount this difficulty? What did you do? What did you do when you were failing algebra or when you had this difficulty? How did you proceed, right? You'll be able to make your experience believable. You'll be able to make it interesting. You'll be able to make your experience relatable. So that's like comeback special prompt or the Rocky prompt. Number 3, I'm just calling it the Galileo prompt. So it says, reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or idea. What prompted your thinking? What was the outcome? So this sounds like a Galileo prompt to me, because famously Galileo questioned heliocentricity. Does the Earth rotate around the sun, or does the sun rotate around the Earth? Well, he challenged the norms of the day. He challenged a well-accepted belief or idea. The only problem is maybe you are not Galileo. That's the risky thing about choosing this prompt, is that you will come across as rebellious or anti-establishment. This essay prompt, I think, is just a little dangerous, because typically when you're challenging or questioning beliefs that are held, many society, many beliefs or ideas are important to society, right? So if you're constantly questioning accepted beliefs, are you challenging? Are you just rebellious just for? Is it rebellion for rebellion's sake? What are you actually doing here? You're gonna maybe come across as a little too anti-establishment. See, if you're trying to get into one of these institutions, if you're applying to college, I hate to say this, but the university is the establishment, right? They are the new establishment. So if you're coming across as anti-establishment or rebellious, that's dangerous. Okay, so at this point in your career, you probably have not established yourself in any field, really. You haven't asserted yourself in any way that others would consider professionally interesting. So this is a difficult prompt, because what have you challenged? What belief could you possibly be challenging? I'm just not sure. You're not Galileo. I think that this is kind of a tricky prompt. So you may come across as too confrontational. This is the establishment, right? You're trying to communicate with. So remember, Galileo probably, for good reason, never said these words to the Inquisition. These words, yet it still moves. Are you a proper fit for a venerable institution if your rebellious nature is your defining characteristic? If your rebellious nature is your defining quality, I'm not sure if you would be a great fit for this institution, right? I got to be wary. I'm a little bit wary about the rebellious nature of this prompt. It could be done well. I'm not saying that it couldn't be done well. I would just consider this one advanced. So your care and consideration of others may not come across in your rebellious sort of essay. A general negativity or pessimism may pervade your writing. That's the number one risk. And I'm not saying that this is guaranteed. I'm not saying that you can't select this prompt. I'm sure a skilled writer could select this prompt and not seem overly pessimistic or not seem anti-establishment. So admission counselors, they want to protect these venerable institutions. They want to protect these institutions from outside intrusion. So that's why we kind of warn, maybe to a certain extent, against this prompt. Could be done for an advanced writer. Obviously, Galileo can do it, but can you do it? That's the question. Can you back it up? Can you back it up with something from your own life? And that's going to be a harder task. Number 4 is the gratitude prompt. This is another one you should probably avoid. It says, reflect on something that someone has done for you that has made you happy or thankful in a surprising way. How has this gratitude affected or motivated you? So society values charity and gift giving. We have documented gift giving within every human civilization. In ancient Greece, it was customary to give passing travelers gifts, just in case they were actually gods in disguise. Gift giving pervades all aspects of society, so it is therefore complicated. So as a society, we appreciate charitable giving, and many wealthy philanthropists give fortunes away to good causes. Charitable giving is good, but we can also recognize pompous giving. We can recognize self-serving gifts. We can recognize gifts that are given for personal gain to make one look better than one actually is, and that can be an issue. So this prompt is unique in that it permits you to mainly highlight your gratitude, not your generosity. This is interesting. So let's look at, so then you would then have to in turn argue that this newfound gratitude has led you to become a more generous person, and that's an extra step. So what do I mean? Let's just consider a simple scenario here. So here we have a simple English sentence. It's just a simple sentence. April gave the money to John. So here we have a subject. This is the doer of our action, April. The direct object is the money. And then we also have John. John is receiving the money from April. So a pretty standard, pretty basic scenario. But choosing this scenario makes you the object rather than the subject of your own story. So we said that these essays are supposed to be about you. This essay is supposed to be about you, not April. That's the problem here. So it starts, your whole essay, just by the necessity of the prompt, starts with the other, and then you have to relate that all the way back to yourself. And that can be a difficult task. We have to start with someone else. They have to then give you something. We're going to relate this personal story that happened to you, or at least you allege that it happened to you. Now we have to go back and prove that this gift giving, this gratitude has led you to become a more generous person. Now you have found yourself giving away your time, giving away things that matter to you in a similar way that maybe April did here. So that's one issue. You have to start with someone else and then make it about you. This essay is supposed to be about you, not your parents, not about someone else. But you have to start with someone else. They mandate it. Okay. So it's supposed to be about you. Is this John's story or is this April's story? Who is the subject of the essay? Clearly it should be you. Should it be the one who is applying to college, you? Or should it be someone else? Maybe an older relative or parent with deep pockets who likes to give you things. Now you, the applicant, have to demonstrate your own value by either reciprocating or passing it along to someone else. So this prompt is one we would consider likely to lead to convoluted writing. It starts with someone else, and then you have to relate it back to you. You have to follow a careful path to establish your own character. That's why I feel that this is a difficult prompt. So like the other prompts that we consider advanced, use this one at your own risk. The gratitude prompt is a little tricky in that it allows you to highlight your gratitude, not your generosity. Then you'd have to go back and prove that, and that's an additional step. And you have to do this all in around 650 words. So that's why we kind of maybe avoid that prompt. Number 5 is the personal growth prompt. So discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth in a new understanding of yourself or others. So we're calling this the Eureka prompt. So the personal growth prompt could be a good choice for a skilled writer, depending on the Eureka moment. So if it's believable, if it's sincere, if it sounds true, then it's okay. Then you can use this prompt. If it sounds far-flung, if it doesn't sound believable, if your Eureka moment sounds lackluster or just fraudulent, this essay isn't going to work. So the entire essay hinges on proper selection of this Eureka moment. And this is a tall order. So if you choose something that sounds perhaps lackluster or mundane, you will bore your audience. Never bore your audience. You bore your audience, they won't select you. So the A on your Spanish quiz, it may seem like this event, this realization, this sparked a tremendous realization with you. It's not going to sound believable, perhaps, to me. That's where you might be building up something that just sounds like it's not. You might be making something effectively grander than it actually is. That's the number one risk with this type of prompt. A skilled writer could select this, but if you build something up that just doesn't sound believable, if you attempt to dramatize a relatively minor event from your own life, you will inflate it to an artificial extent. You can't help but inflate it. And it will be hard to see your learning for what it actually is. Right? This may actually make it harder for me to understand you as an applicant. If this personal growth, this realization that you're describing doesn't sound that believable to me, you may create a greater distance between you and the person who's reading your essay. You never want to do that either. So it'll come across as insincere. The number one thing I'm looking for as I'm reading a college application essay is sincerity. Does this sound like the applicant? Does this sound like a real individual who wants to go to school here? Does this sound like a parent posing as the student? So if your story lacks credibility, that means if it lacks believability, we're not going to select you. So that's why I probably caution against the personal growth prompt unless you have a great example. If you have a great example from your own life of something that sounds believable, it sounds buyable, sure, go with it. But I'd probably write a prompt number 2 first before I tried a personal growth prompt. We consider this advanced. The captivating subjects prompt is another advanced one. It says, describe a topic, idea, or concept you find so engaging that it makes you lose all track of time. Why does it captivate you? What or whom do you turn to when you want to learn more? So like many of the more advanced prompts, an essay response to the captivating subject question could be undertaken by a skilled writer. The difficulty of these broader prompts is that the essay reader could lose focus of the applicant. Maybe you start writing about a topic, idea, or concept that you find so engaging, but never really write about yourself. This essay is supposed to be about you, but maybe you're only talking abstractly about mathematics. You enjoy mathematics. You find it very engaging. You know you want to become a math major. But I could very easily find myself reading an essay that's only about theoretical math, or that's not about you, the applicant. Don't write an essay like that. So you could, people have written so much about any subject. So people have written so much about mathematics. There are whole textbooks about it. You could write about it in a way that would not reveal anything about you. So you can write about some kind of captivating subject. You just have to relate it back to yourself. Why does it captivate you? What is so interesting about it? You have to relate it to your own life. But the problem with this prompt is you may interpret the subject, the topic, idea, or concept to be what the essay is really about, when really the essay is supposed to be about you, not this captivating subject. You have to relate this subject back to you in a way that is interesting and unique. And that can be tricky. That's a more advanced task. It could be undertaken by a skilled writer, but these broader prompts are a little bit tricky in that you often seem to lose focus on the applicant. If you're not careful, you'll lose focus of the applicant. You'll talk too much about this topic or idea. And this essay is primarily supposed to be about you. I'm supposed to have a broader picture, a clearer picture of you, the candidate. I should understand what's important to you as an individual after reading your personal statement. So prompt number 6 necessitates you first introduce a subject that is not you. Again, you start with the other. You start with something else. And now you have to relate it back to yourself in a unique and engaging way. This is a hard task. Another problem lies in the reality that your idea of an interesting subject in mind may differ substantially. So your hobby, your topic of interest, the thing that you find interesting may bore me. So be careful here. You never want to bore your audience, particularly if they can determine your application. It is bad to alienate your audience, but it is far worse to bore them. The 7th prompt is the open-ended prompt. I'm going to read this one. Share an essay on any topic of your choice. It can be one you've already written, one that responds to a different prompt, or one of your own design. So this is probably the one of the trickier prompts because it is so open-ended. Choose anything. I can choose any question and respond to it. So I said that these prompts are broad, they're open-ended, maybe too broad, too open-ended. And now I have a question like this. I can just pick anything. This is the danger of the Common App essay prompt. The danger would be that you select something that is broad, something that is vague, something that it just lacks scope. It lacks focus. Some of the prompts seem to have focus. Like number 2 seems to be focused, laser focused right on you, the individual. Name a time when you overcame a challenge. Name a time when you faced a setback in order to achieve your goal. Like that focuses on you. That's a great prompt. Some of these other essay prompts don't seem to focus on you, the individual, too well. You have to work. You have to work extra hard to make it relatable, to make it, to bring out yourself. So that can be difficult with some of these prompts. This one's just way too open-ended. So based on the other essay prompts, we know that the focus should be you, not your Macbeth essay. Don't just recycle some other essay that you think would work here. How is that pertinent? This thing is supposed to be about you. You just happen to write a great essay that focused on you, and you just have it available? Maybe, right? But that's unlikely. So a skilled writer could certainly create any kind of engaging question. This is so open. So certainly a skilled writer could create an engaging prompt that is not offered in choices 1 through 7. And universities have done this for a number of years. So many universities, often liberal arts university or liberal arts colleges, certain universities will come up with their outlandish, their unconventional prompts because they read the same essays year after year and they get bored of them. So some universities have created their own outlandish prompts, and you may be tempted to pick up your own, or you may be tempted to create your own outlandish or unconventional prompt with prompt number 7. So here are some prompts that we've seen, some unconventional or outlandish. These are real prompts that universities have used before. What is your favorite word and why? So could you write 650 words about what your favorite word is and why it's interesting? Or here's another unconventional, outlandish prompt you could respond to for number 7. These are real prompts that colleges have used before. Good schools, hard to get in schools. Create a new word and its accompanying definition. So for number 7, you could invent a word that's not in the dictionary, but maybe it should be, and explain it in 650 words in order to get into college. That would be a difficult task. I would never choose this essay. So I consider myself a pretty good writer. I would not choose to create a word and come up with its accompanying definition in order to get into college. Sure, you might think that this is going to allow me to highlight my creativity. I will be able to set myself apart. So many hundreds, thousands of juniors and seniors out there. They're nowhere near as creative as I am. I will come up with a better word than all of them. I will set my writing apart. I will set my application apart with my writing. That will be very difficult. Should you attempt something similar with the open-ended prompt? Probably not. We are not saying that a skilled writer cannot use this prompt. It's just too open-ended. Most applicants would benefit from a grounded approach that focuses on you, the individual, not some open-ended prompt about, a theoretical word. We want something that focuses on you, because this essay is supposed to be about you. Stick with one of the other prompts that best reflects you, the candidate, or if you must have a different prompt, that isn't 1 through 6, here's one for you. I like this prompt. This would be a great prompt. So if you're not going to write prompt number 2, I would maybe write this one. Here's your write-in prompt. What matters to you and why? This is a Stanford prompt they've used before. So things should matter to you at this point in your education. The events that are going on in the world should matter to you. What matters to you and why? You should be able to explain your stance on this statement. This is a broad question, but in 650 words, if you are an interesting applicant, if you are a real applicant, then something must matter to you by now. If you made it this far in your life, if you're 17 years old, 18 years old, certainly something must matter to you and why. You must have some conviction. You must have some things that are important to yourself. What matters to you, family? What matters to you, your friends? What matters to you, the environment? What matters to you, you should be able to express yourself about this subject. So this would be a good write-in prompt. I probably wouldn't choose number 7. I probably wouldn't choose the open-ended prompt, but this is at least a good question that focuses on you, the candidate, which you could very easily write your own question that isn't about you. That's why we like to caution against the open-ended essay prompt, because it's too open. It's too open for most writers. We want the topic to be you. This makes it way too easy to focus on something that isn't you. So just be careful. If you're going to use a write-in prompt, maybe write this one in. What matters to you and why? Certainly some things should matter to you by now. Essay structure. So when you're writing the essay, you must consider your essay's structure, style, and subject. So we've already discussed that the subject is supposed to be you. The recommended style is formal, although maybe a little less formal than you're used to. But the structure, which will be pretty specific if you want to be taken seriously. So you must use paragraph structure. So you will begin your essay with an introduction. You'll introduce the topic, and the topic is going to be somehow you, right? You're going to relate it back to you, whichever prompt you choose. But you always begin with the introduction. You're going to follow that with a few supporting paragraphs. This is the body of your paper. You will support these. So your supporting paragraphs will include evidence from your own life. So normally when you're writing an essay, maybe you include some evidence from the text, from a book, maybe you're writing a book report. You would include perhaps, I don't know, a quote from the author. Here you're just going to just include something from your own life, right? Something that actually happened to you, or at least you allege that it happened to you. And it had better be believable if you want to be taken seriously. So that's going to be the body of your paper, and then you're just going to end it with a conclusion, just like you would with any other essay. So your conclusion really just needs to create closure. It's clear to me that your essay is over. I can put it down. I can go read another one. Mainly just creates closure, just creates a departure point. I can stop now. I can consider some other application. Mainly it needs to create closure. Your introductions should contain a thesis. This is what you're trying to prove with your essay. And by the time you have completed your essay, it must be what you have proven. This will be an answer to one of those questions. Your thesis is going to encompass the entirety of this question, whichever question you choose. You're going to answer it with your thesis. That's the statement that you're trying to prove. And by the end of your essay, it's what you have proven. So the body of your paper will contain your evidence that will prove your thesis. Make sure that your evidence is believable. You must maintain credibility as you're writing your essay. If you lose credibility, if your essay doesn't sound believable, I don't buy it, I probably won't select you, right? If it doesn't sound honest, and the main thing I'm looking for is sincerity. If I want to, is this a reflection of the actual individual? Is this the candidate? Is this the applicant? But if you lose credibility, if it becomes apparent to me that a parent wrote your essay, this is not your voice, this does not sound believably like you, that would be a problem. Maintain credibility. Maintain sincerity. It must sound real. They want to confirm what they already think they know about you. They already want you in the school. If they're reading your essay, you're already on a short list, right? They don't have time to read everyone's essay. So just give them what they want. They're just looking for confirmation of what they think they know about you. Prove that you belong in this institution. Prove that you belong there, right? So make sure that your writing is believable. Your supporting paragraphs will reference parts of your thesis as you prove your thesis. And your conclusion just creates closure. It's clear that your essay is over. It will also include this. Your conclusion, I meant to highlight that. Your conclusion should also include a restatement of your thesis. By now, it's something that you've proven. Don't stop writing your essay until you've proven your thesis. Just keep writing paragraphs until you've proven your thesis. If you haven't proven your thesis, you need to write more. You need to clarify. You need to maybe revise. A good conclusion answers the question, where has the journey of my essay taken us? So by the conclusion, we should be somewhere else. We shouldn't be where we started. So do not just, I don't know, don't paraphrase your introduction and try to turn that into a conclusion, because we shouldn't be where we've started. Our essay should have taken us, your essay should have taken us somewhere. If your writing is stagnant, if it's flatlined, then maybe we are where we started, but that's not good. Your writing, there should be some nuance to your style. There should be a logical progression of ideas, maybe like a staircase. There should be a logical progression of ideas that maybe where we start the intro. Maybe a logical progression of ideas brings us somewhere else. By the time we're at the conclusion, we're somewhere else. We're up here now. So our writing is taking us places and it's building off itself to bring us to somewhere where we haven't been before, our conclusion. So that's one way to visualize it. And then what you want to avoid would be flatlining. If your writing is so similar that it seems like by the end of it, I can't tell where I am compared to the beginning of it. It's stagnant. Your writing is stagnant. It's uninteresting. It's not taking us places. And your writing is not taking us anywhere, and that would be bad. Judging the essay. So they will judge your essay. They may score it. So institutions will have their own rubrics, their own method of scoring your essay. They may actually put a score on it, and these will remain trade secrets. We don't know what they're doing at Harvard. We don't know what they're doing at Yale. It's just going to be a trade secret for now. But we have prepared a mini rubric that will be similar to what they're likely using. And here it is right here. You'll probably be judged in at least 3 categories. The depth of your analysis being one, just based on the question that they're asking you, we feel that this would be a category. And the other category would be reflective of the English language. Standard written English has rules. American Standard Written English has rules. I'm talking about grammar rules, spelling rules, punctuation counts. Everything counts. So Standard Written English has rules. Make sure that you follow the rules of Standard Written English as you're writing this. And that would be this category here. So I'm going to go over the 2 categories that we would include within our rubric. Because you never know what they're going to have. Particular institutions, they're going to have their own trade secrets, their own rubrics. But this is a good sample rubric, and this will suffice for today. You could use this to judge any essay that's written with prompt 1 through 7, and you should be able to come up with a good understanding of the essay based on this rubric. So let's take a look at it. So under the analysis category, it says the response offers a thorough understanding of the prompt and a sophisticated awareness of the analytical task. So you clearly understood what was asked of you. You formulated a sophisticated and intelligent response to the question. You analyzed it thoroughly. You're able to perform the task that was asked of you, right? That's all they're really asking you there. The response reveals a deeper understanding of the candidate's values, or the candidate's beliefs. So this thing is supposed to be about you. It should show me a clear picture of you, the candidate, not someone else, not your parents. It must be about you, and you've clearly revealed yourself through this essay. It's not supposed to be about, I don't know, the sport of baseball, if you chose a topic essay, or it's not supposed to be about mechanical engineering. It's supposed to be about you, maybe about mechanical engineering in a way that makes it relatable to you, the candidate. I want to know about you, really. We have engineers. We can read, if we want to read about engineering, we'll read what they produce, right? They publish papers on engineering every year at this school. We want to know about you, right? We want to know about you, the candidate. All right, so the essay contains relevant and sufficient support for claims or points made. So never make a claim without supporting it with evidence, just as you would in any kind of class, just as you would in any kind of essay. Only here, the evidence is going to come from your own life. So you're just going to support it with evidence, something that really actually happened to you, something that you allege happened to you. Just explain that life event, explain how you overcame that difficulty you had with the stutter, overcame a difficulty that you had with X, Y, Z, whatever. It just needs to be relatable, it needs to be believable, and you must include evidence from your own life to make your points. And last bullet point here says the essay includes evidence, from the applicant's own life. So you could very easily submit an essay that isn't about you, right? Maybe it's too much about some other topic that you found interesting and you never related it back to yourself in a way that was interesting and in a way that revealed more about you. That would be bad. Let's look at the writing category here. The essay demonstrates cohesion and strong command of the English language. If you want a good score, if you want a high score for this category, English has rules, grammar has rules, spelling counts, everything counts. The essay includes a well-formulated central claim known as a thesis. So I would definitely have something. I should be able to underline your thesis if I want to. So make sure that you do include a thesis. I should be able to underline it if I want to. Don't just think that your implicit controlling idea is enough. I want a thesis that I can underline if I'm looking for your thesis. And it's just what you're trying to prove. And by the end of the essay, it's what you have proven. That's all your thesis is. Just your main claim, your main idea, your well-formulated central claim. The essay includes an effective introduction and conclusion. If you want to be taken seriously, you must include both an introduction and conclusion. This isn't a timed exercise. You have all the time in the world to write this at home. So please be sure to use paragraph structure. Include effective introduction and conclusion. Your conclusion just creates closure. Your introduction introduces the topic. It introduces the prompt, and it says what you're going to be explaining in your essay. The essay maintains a formal style and objective tone. So if you want to be taken seriously, if you want to be accepted to this institution, you should probably maintain a formal style and objective tone. I know you may think that they'll get your humor, that they'll think that you're funny, and that will set your application apart. It is just as likely that they will not get your particular brand of humor, and that maybe your comedy will seem offensive to them. Perhaps you'll seem overly informal to them. Why is this student submitting such an off-the-wall essay? Doesn't this student want to be taken seriously? That's what I would worry about with coming across as too informal. You must maintain a formal style in your writing if you want to be taken seriously in this world. If you want to be accepted for that job, if you want to be accepted for that job application, if you want to be accepted during that interview, maintain a formal style, maintain an objective tone. You can be friendly. You want your writing to be entertaining. Don't be stuffy. Don't be overly formal, but formal enough, right? It's going to be about you. There are going to be many I pronouns within your essay. So you may deviate a little bit from that formal style you are so used to adhering to in school as you're talking about the events of your day, right? As you talk about personal events that you claim happened to you. So just maintain a formal style within reason. It can be a little bit entertaining, it can be a little bit informal, but not overly informal. So you may deviate slightly from the formal style that you're used to just because the nature of the subject is so personal. That's okay. Just don't go so far. Just don't go overboard. Don't lose it completely. Don't include slang. Maintain a formal style that would be acceptable in any kind of English class. The essay demonstrates facility with the English language and is free or virtually free of errors. So in order to be accepted into the college of your choice, make sure you submit an essay that is free or virtually free of errors. That's a tall order. So I probably would have a buddy look at your essay. Don't have your friend write your essay, but maybe just get a second set of eyes on your essay just to make sure that it's free or virtually free of grammatical errors. Before you hit send, before you hit submit, just make sure, double check it, just in case there was a typo somewhere or something that you needed to address. But watch out for plagiarism. That is not going to get you into college. They just write "Daddy wrote it" on top of the essay if they think Daddy wrote it, and then they won't accept you. That's all they do, right? So they can afford to do that. They can afford to be selective, especially if it's a prestigious school. If they're not going to select you if it sounds inauthentic. All right, so now we have a sample essay response. We're just going to quickly look at this sample essay response here. So this says, read a sample essay that worked. This essay worked. This is a real essay that really got this student into school. It is a sample response to that Rocky prompt, that comeback special prompt, the prompt number 2. Does the essay sound authentic? Does it sound believable? Does it sound like Daddy wrote it? Does it sound like a real person? Does this sound like someone we should accept for our institution? Does it sound believable? Also, I want you to consider, what does this essay do effectively? This is a real essay, so it may, hopefully it's effective. It worked. This worked for the applicant. He or she was selected into the school. So just consider what this essay does effectively as you read it. What could be improved? What could be done more effectively? So here's the prompt. It says, the lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from the experience? So take a few minutes to read this prompt here. I'll just leave it up on the screen for just a couple minutes. This is the last thing we're doing before I sign us off today. We will be done a little bit early, I imagine, today. So just take a few minutes to read this prompt. Give you some time to do that. We'll quickly go over what it does well, what perhaps could be improved, and then I'll sign us off for the evening. Okay, I'm just going to quickly talk about one or two things that I find interesting about this essay, and then I'll just sign us off for the evening. So what do we like, what do we dislike about this essay? I would say that the caliber of writing doesn't appear particularly high, but that isn't necessarily a detraction for me because it sounds so believable. It sounds realistic. Like this sounds like maybe someone who wasn't a great student in English, but maybe has improved somewhat. So it sounds believable. And I like that it's verifiable. I think that that's the greatest thing that this essay has going for it. It shows verifiable progress. What do I mean by that? They have the scores. So if you're submitting this to colleges, they know this is accurate. They can verify, well, we started with a 450 and a 430. Or maybe that's the PSAT. But they have your SAT scores. So they know that you took it and this is verifiable. I can look at your application, I can see, yep, he was only a 490, and now suddenly he's got a 550 math score. He was nowhere near here. How did he improve 100 points in math? He must have been working hard. It sounds believable because it's verifiable. I have these numbers. I could see that he kept going. I could see that he or she kept going all the way to a 520 English and a 630 math. I like that this essay is verifiable. I can verify this statement. I'm going to highlight it. That's what I like about this essay. I can verify that. We can prove it. It's provable. That's what this essay does well. It's believable and it's verifiable. I can look at the scores. If I had any doubt, I can just check. Right? I have these scores. And the conclusion does everything it needs to. It creates closure, and you have proven the thesis. Like this author was able to prove that he or she was able to improve his or her score in order to get into a good program. So this strong effort defeating my obstacle has instilled within me a work ethic that has continued to motivate me. That sounds believable. That sounds viable. I would buy that. It sounds like a believable journey. This journey all the way from a 450 to a 430, all the way to 87th percentile in math nationally. That's a far journey. That's not a simple task. That does sound almost insurmountable. But it's here it is. Here it is. It's provable. It's verifiable. I can if I had any question at all, I could just verify this. So I feel that this is true. This does sound believable to me. It does sound like this author does have the strength inside to face life's challenges. This person sounds like he or she would be a great candidate at school and would face challenges right along with us. Right? That's what we want. We want an applicant that's making these very serious challenges into nothing, into molehills. So that's the Common App essay. There are 7 of them. You can, pick your own prompt for that 7th prompt, or you can pick one of the prompts they give you. We'd probably recommend prompt number 2, but you're free to choose whatever prompt you like. Just remember that whichever prompt you choose must paint a clear picture of you, the applicant, more than anything else. So find a prompt that allows you to reveal more about yourself than the rest of your application, more than your scores, more than your grade point average, more than your letters of recommendation. You're trying to set yourself apart in a way that is different from all of those other documents. So that's all I have for the English for today. We're done actually a little bit early, so I will sign us off. Sophia, if you're still here, have a good evening. Margot may be watching this later. I know that there is a little bit of a electrical storm, so I'm not sure, Sophia, if you're even on still. But it's okay if you're not. If you watch this later, that's fine too. I'm going to sign us off for the night. And if you have any questions, you can always just email Mrs. Hessler. You can call us if there's anything. But yeah, that's the Common App essay. That's all we have for tonight. So I will sign us off, and we will see you next time for our next class.